Hello and welcome to today's webinar and Alumni Roadshow from the Centre of Excellence in Smart Construction. We're delighted to have Dr. Anas Bataw with us, who is the Director of CESC, who will be telling you all about Centre today, and you will also be able to ask any questions. So please ask any questions through the chat facility, and we'll also have time for a Q&A at the end. After this session, we will actually send you an email with all the details of the session, this recording, and also a form where you can contact CESC showing your interest. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Dr. Anas Bataw.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you to the Watt Club for the invite, and thank you for the attendance attending today's session. As Catherine mentioned, today I'll be giving you an introduction about the Centre of Excellence in Smart Construction. Purpose of today's session really is to introduce you to the Centre of Excellence in Smart Construction and what Heriot Watt University has invested in terms of innovations as part of the 2025 strategy for the university, and how, as Catherine mentioned, how you can get involved with the centre through your capacity within your organisation or as an alumni. So, part of the University Strategy 2025, the university has invested in a number of innovations across UK, UAE and Malaysia, where the university has invested in innovations and setups such as the GRID, which is the Global Research, Innovation and Discovery in Edinburgh, as well as investing in Edinburgh Centre for Robotics, which is the National Robotorium, and also invest in initiatives such as and research such as the IDRIC, which is the Industrial Decarbonisation Research and Innovation Centre. Here in the UAE, the university has invested in the Centre of Excellence in Smart Construction. The Centre of Excellence in Smart Construction is aimed to have government, industry and academia partnerships, which is what we call the triple helix. The purpose of this partnership is to transform the construction industry and build capabilities and innovations to enhance the built environment. Our focus within the Centre of Excellence in Smart Construction is on innovations and smart technologies, which I'll tell you more about in the later slides. But we are focusing on a number of themes. First one is productivity and performance. Second theme is sustainability, and the third theme is well-being. These themes were developed from a number of workshops and market analysis that we've done with our partners and government entities and others, where we've understood the different challenges that we have within the industry and what kind of themes and topics that need to be addressed, as I will be talking about today. But also, more importantly, the list of themes and sub-themes were put together on the back of the capabilities that we have within the university to make sure that we can provide the right research and engagement with the government and industry accordingly. You can see at the bottom these are a number of founding organizations that we work with, along with other organizations that I'll show you in later slides. So the purpose, as I mentioned, it's ultimately to stimulate industry-led solutions and innovations through research, to drive solutions and address the challenges within the construction industry, but also mainly to drive and lead economical growth within the region. As you can see in the image at the bottom, this is what we call the triple helix, which is the businesses, the governments and the academia coming together to drive open innovations for the growth of a certain sector. So this is actually an approach that has existed in many other centres or setups, some of them on a smaller scale, Centre of Excellence Smart Construction is aimed to be a bigger scale, but also it's the first of its kind in the construction industry to be connecting the three different organizations, from businesses to government and academia. Our vision is to be the catalyst to resolve the challenges that we have within the industry. And while we're doing that, we want to enable innovations to have a smarter and more sustainable built environment. To do this, we have a mission of working closely with organizations and institutes and startups to develop solutions through agile, sustainable, reliable methodologies and knowledge share. Our objectives for this is, the first objective is to partner with leading organizations. The purpose of partnering with leading organizations is to create and share knowledge for innovations. The second objective is to address challenges and develop smart solutions, as I said, in three themes, which is productivity and performance, sustainability and well-being within the construction industry. And the third objective, which is very close, obviously, to our hearts within the university, is to develop the next generation of talents. The university is well known for doing that in many years anyways, and this is something that we wanted to prioritize, again, within our objectives. And the purpose behind that is, as you know, there's a lot of topics that we will touch on, such as AI, IoT, robotics, 3D printing, and etc. And the focus is to develop, basically practice what we preach. So we're going to be working, or we are working with a number of organizations on these cutting edge technologies and innovations. And what we plan to do is to develop our curriculum accordingly and to suit these topics and initiatives, in order to develop the next generation of talents, to be not only aware of these initiatives, but also drive these initiatives forwards within the industry once they are employed within the industry. The setup of the structure of the centre is, we have what's called a non-exec board of directors. The non-exec board of directors is chaired by the UAE Minister of Climate Change and Environment, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Noaimi, as well as His Excellency. We have university executives within the boards. We have partners, executives from the different organizations that we work with within the industry. We have a number of professional institutes like ICE and Society of Engineers. And we have a number of semi-government programs involved with us and working with us as well, which is part of our board. We have what's called a core team. So this core team sits within the university. This includes myself in there. We also, the university have invested in putting together a steering committee. We also work heavily with research institutes. Some of you are aware of the many research institutes across the university. What our purpose is not to reinvent the wheel and create a research institution. We are a centre of excellence, so what we do is really work with the external entities and make sure we tie this up with the existing knowledge base that we have. We have a lot of experience and experts across the university, as you probably know, in things like robots, decarbonization, AI, machine learning, IoT, and many others. And the purpose behind that is really to utilize the capabilities that we have within the university, rather than reinventing the wheel, as I said, and create new teams and etc. So we work really closely with a number of research institutes across the university to tackle different research projects or development projects. As well as that, we have a board of advisors, and we have partners, as I mentioned. We work with a number of partners from the industry and government, and we have what's called an affiliates. The difference between partners and affiliates are usually the startups. So we like to invest in startups, whether it's startups who are students or ex-students or staff members within the university, but also startups from outside of the university as well. And we like to we work with them as affiliates to get them involved with some of the projects we're working on, but also to help them accelerate to the next steps of the startup. So how we engage, we have a number of types of engagement. The first type of engagement, and I've mentioned this a few times, industry partnership. What we do with our industry partners is we co-develop innovation programs. So we help our partners understand the different issues or highlight the different issues that they may have within the organization, but more importantly is to come up with solutions with them and co-develop these innovations and solutions to make them more competitive and to make them more innovative. As well as that, we run a number of student engagements, such as shadowing, such as apprenticeships and etc. for our students to be involved with these organizations, not only for the students to benefit from that, but also for these organizations to benefit. We also have a number of upskilling, CPDs, and trade training programs that our partners can benefit from. We work closely with our partners to publish, whether it's journal papers or conference papers, or even what we call the CESC bulletin, as well as we work with them on a number of knowledge share, hackathons, events, and etc. And last but not least, what we do with our industry partners is we invite them to a number of workshops, conferences, and other industrial events, sometimes with the government or sometimes with other industry partners to discuss certain issues and solutions, or sometimes even with startups to come up with ideas to enhance their capabilities and processes and procedures and etc. The second type of engagement is a collaboration project engagement. What I mean by that is basically once we identify a certain project with our partners, we engage with them separately on a specific research or consultancy or a development project where we have a funded research associate or a KTP or a PhD, or what we have introduced, which is the engineering doctorate, which is pretty much similar to your traditional PhD. However, this is mainly focused on industry, where the researcher spends the majority of their time with the organization, with a clear link with the university, obviously, to carry out a number of research, etc. But the purpose of their research is to benefit the organization itself and come up with breakthroughs for the organization. And the third type of engagement is consortiums. So as I said, we work with a number of government entities, and what we do is these government entities that we work with them, we collaborate to develop guidelines and policies. One of the guidelines that we're working with at the moment is with the UAE Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure. And what we're doing with them at the moment, we co-developing or helping them to develop the guidelines for smart construction, or the national guidelines for smart construction for the whole UAE. To develop this is obviously not just us as a university are working on this. We actually invite our partners and affiliates and organizations that we work with to be part of a consortium that we built. The purpose of these consortiums, like many others, by the way, not just one consortium, we work together with these individuals or organizations to come up with industry solutions or national solutions, as I said in that example of developing the national guidelines of smart construction. So this gives an opportunity for individuals or organizations to be aware, obviously, of what's going on from a government level, but also to be involved in shaping up some of the national strategies or guidelines or policies. Last but not least is something that we are launching, which is the Construction Acceleration Hub. The purpose of that is to run in competitions and support programs to work with startups and entrepreneurs within the construction industry, whether we help them through funding or help them through incubation within our campuses, or helping them to partner with or work with a number of organizations that we work with as well. These competitions, we obviously have a priority for students and alumni and staff, but also we are planning to invite others as well to benefit from that. These are the themes and the sub-themes I mentioned earlier. As I mentioned, we have themes, 3 themes, which are the productivity and performance, sustainability, and well-being. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but as you can see here, within productivity and performance, we tackle topics such as 3D printing and modular construction, obviously Industry 4.0, which is a big general topic, contracts and policies, digital twinning, IoT, artificial intelligence, design for manufacturers and manufacturing and assembly, DFMA, or prefabrication in general, and the list goes on even to robotics and drones and VR and AR. Within sustainability, less driven in terms of technologies and more in terms of processes and procedures as well, such as urban planning, decarbonization, net zero energy, monetization of sustainability, recycling, waste management, etc. As well as that, obviously we have the well-being. Well-being is one of the biggest issues. Well, every single one of them is big issue. Sustainability is a big issue, and the productivity and performance is a big issue within the construction industry. But well-being is something that it's been neglected in many cases. So there's a lot of focus that we have also in well-being, and how can we make sure that we work closely with our partners, but also the government, to make sure we develop or create healthier, safer environments for people to work in, but also the assets that's being built from the construction industry are more livable, smarter, and more sustainable as well. So that's the 3 themes and the many themes and topics that we have. As I said, these topics and themes and sub-themes has been developed from a number of workshops, market analysis, and also the capabilities that we have across the university. Our focus for 2021 is we have 5 topics that we are working on at the moment. So we are working on next gen, what we call the next gen of products with our next gen of construction, mainly focusing on 3D printing and prefabrication, which is DFMA and offsite manufacturing. Second one is robotics, and how robotics can be used in the construction industry and how that can be integrated with AI and IoT sensors. AI stands for artificial intelligence, and IoT sensors stand for Internet of Things, and how this can be integrated within the construction industry, whether it's to help us to monitor hazards and health and safety issues through wearable technologies and etc., all the way to monitoring of cranes and workforce and even material and etc. Digitization. This is it's been an ongoing topic within the construction industry for some time, although COVID have helped with speeding up with the number of things that we have in this industry. However, there are a lot of issues still outstanding, especially with digital twin, BIM, and GIS, and that's something that we're working on at the moment with some government entities and partners. Sustainability, the decarbonization of the construction industry is one of the main topics that we are driving with the government at the moment, especially for the cement industry, and that's something we're working on at the moment. And that's a live project that we are working as a consortium with a number of organizations. And last but not least is Fintech. This is where we focus on mainly how to use blockchain for smart contracts. So we're not looking at just the finance aspects of Fintech or blockchain and the cryptocurrency, but more importantly, actually, we're focusing on the smart contract aspect of things. Our focus activities for this year is we are building on some of the strategic collaboration and initiatives with the government. So there is a number of initiatives that we have. Many of them, as you can appreciate, are very confidential. But as I mentioned, one of them is the national guidelines for UAE for smart construction, and the second one is the decarbonization of the cement industry. And we're building on many more. We're also developing or working closer and more with our partners to develop innovation programs to help them innovate more. We have a number of research projects that we're executing with partners, as I mentioned in the previous slides. We have launched what's called an engineering doctorate in construction, which, as I mentioned, it's an industrial PhD basically, funded or semi-funded by an organization to come up with solutions through research. Rolling out a number of CPD programs in collaboration with a number of institutes, the likes of ICE, CIOB, RICS, Society of Engineers, etc., and possibly PMI. Publications, so we have a number of publications already, such as bulletin and journals and research papers and white papers, and we work closely with others, whether partners or non-partners, and you're more than welcome to associate with that. The Construction Acceleration Hub, as I mentioned, is something that we're planning to launch within this year. We also have what's called the Cesc Webinars and talks, which is interviews. And by the end of this year, we are planning a conference focusing on smart construction with CIB. So that's the different focus activities and also the focus themes, as I mentioned in the previous slide. The reason why I'm showing you this slide and that slide is to give you some ideas in terms of what kind of things you could maybe get involved if you're interested. Here is a list of some of the ecosystem that we work with other than our partners. You might see your organization part of it already. This is an ecosystem that we have from the different workshops and different consortiums and different conversations and collaboration that we've been having at the moment with different industries, whether it's with different organizations, whether it's contractor, developer, consultant, architect, government, local university, or others. And that's pretty much it in terms of the presentation. I tried to aim for just less than half an hour, just to give everyone just a brief of what we do and how we do things. But we would welcome your questions and remarks and comments. But also we are planning to, and I'll talk to you more about this maybe in the questions section, is we will be sending you a questionnaire, just a follow-up questionnaire after this session. The purpose of the questionnaire is to see if you're interested in any of the themes or the sub-themes that I mentioned, or if you're interested in any of the focus activities or focus subjects that we are currently working on, if you want to be involved as within your personal capacity or within your organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Anas. Yeah, there's certainly a lot happening under the whole theme. And one of the questions that I was actually having within that was, obviously, it's been a very different year with COVID happening. How important is it for the built environment to embrace technology and digitalization in a post-COVID world that we're going into?
Well, when we talk about technology or innovation, COVID has accelerated that in many industries. And you can see it more, especially in the construction industry or the built environments. And the reason behind that is because the construction industry has always been behind. It's actually is well known to be the very least innovative or very least technology-driven industries across in the whole world. It's not specifically for regions and etc. And we have a lot of industries that we work very closely with, such as manufacturing and others that are a lot more advanced than us, and this has been an issue within the industry. However, COVID has pushed for a lot of changes. One of them, obviously, because of the sites were closed down. We were faced with obviously having to, and I'm sure many of us have faced the same thing. We were forced to utilize tools for collaboration. I'm not just talking about Teams and Zoom and etc. to have meetings, but also collaboration tools such as BIM to help people to design and work within the construction project and collaborate within their team where we usually do it in a very traditional method. Although BIM has been around way before COVID, arguably 20 years ago, but really we've seen a big push for the likes of BIM, although the benefits of BIM were really clear from day one, but now we see it growing a lot faster, and there's a lot more organizations pushing for it because of COVID, and a lot of them have realized if we manage to do it during COVID, even after the pandemic, we'll be continuing the same, hopefully.
Thank you. We've got a question from Jamal as well. Jamal has asked, do you have a solution centre that can provide the government and semi-government projects with the solutions for construction sites? And for the same for follow-up team that can be a focal point between CESC and other parties?
Sorry, you broke up there. I didn't.
Sorry, I'll repeat the question. Do you have a solution centre that can provide the government and semi-government projects with the solutions for construction sites? It would be interesting to know there, Jamal, in what country you're referring to the construction sites, but also the same for follow-up team that can be a focal point between CESC and other parties.
Yeah. So for the first part of the question, yes, it depends on what kind of solutions Jamal's referring to. By all means, we could discuss that. We do have one of the confidential projects is with the government and semi-government to tackle a similar situation. So there is a platform to work with the government and semi-government on enabling a number of projects that they have, especially to do with COVID and even after COVID. So yes is a short answer. And if anyone would like more information, some of it is confidential, but more than happy to share some of the information that we are able to publish, which can be shared in some of the links that we will share at the end of this workshop. The second part, which is collaboration with other centers. Yeah, we obviously, I mentioned that we collaborate with all the institutes and centers across the university, but yes, we do have a plan to collaborate with other institutes and centers across the globe, not just in UAE, but also across the globe.
Yeah,
we haven't done so yet. Yeah.
Thank you, Anas. And actually, that's something that was really great to see how many people have joined us globally, because we are based here in Dubai. You and I are both in UAE, but actually the Centre for Excellence is there for, we want to connect with everyone around the globe. So alumni are a great forum to do that. And part of the reason that we've put on this session is actually so that we can introduce you to our alumni, but also alumni have the opportunity to get involved. So how can they actually get involved with CESC as alumni, and what opportunities are there to do this?
That's a great question. So as I mentioned, there's a list of projects that we are focusing on, and there is a number of activities that we're also focusing on. So as an alumni, if anyone is interested in any of these projects that we are working on at the moment, or any of these activities that we have, please let us know and reach out to us. We're more than happy to get you involved from a person, as a person, or even as an organization, or even we have this in many cases actually, where some of our alumni or even ex-staff have come in with the current organization that they work with, and wanted to be part of the centre as an industry partner, or they wanted to work with us on a collaboration project, or in many cases want to be part of a certain consortium that we are working on. So this is the reason why I made my presentation really general. It's just to show the kind of things in terms of what we do in general, and if anything ticks anyone's boxes, or anything that might interest any of you. As I said, we are going to be sharing a very small, brief questionnaire. Hopefully, you won't find it long, It's just to capture any interest that you may have, and we can we'll definitely pick these responses up and reach out to you and to understand things further, or to get you involved in some of the topics or activities or engagements that you may wish to be involved in.
Thank you. And Anas had mentioned earlier that there will be a contact form, which we've actually made as an online form, so that after this session, you will receive an email from the Watt Club that has a link to the recording of this if you want to go back and look at the presentation, because obviously there is a lot of information in here and so many different options of how you can get involved. So we will also put that digitalized form on there as well. And then when you fill that in, that will go directly to CESC. So they'll be able to actually see who they can connect with, and you can put as much or as little detail as you want. The main thing that they are really interested in is connecting you with you on a one-to-one basis and finding out if you or your company might like to get involved. So it's a really great opportunity for some alumni engagement. That kind of leads us into Jamilia's question on how are collaborations with other research groups, universities and countries carried out. They're particularly interested in blockchain, DLT and LOT research collaboration with Heriot Watt alumni and researchers. So
in terms of international, we are a global university, which is things that makes it a lot easier for us. In my previous experiences and previous life, that was quite limited, because obviously if you have a research or innovation hub sitting somewhere, it'd be very limited in terms of how can you interact and work with other institutes across the globe. This is a lot easier for us. As I mentioned, we as CESC, we are across campuses and even in some cases across schools, although we are established within Aegis and we are established within Dubai campus, but we do work with colleagues across the university in different campuses and in different institutes. That will allow us and has allowed us already to work outside of the UAE. So some of the projects that we have, actually maybe 4, are outside of the UAE internationally, and it's not within one of the campuses. So we do have a few projects that not in UAE or Malaysia or Edinburgh. It's actually in other countries, and we've managed to work with institutes in there, or NGOs or semi-government or government entities in some cases actually, to work with them on a collaboration project or a consortium.
Thank you. And obviously construction is very different depending on where you are in the world. With my limited knowledge of speaking to people within the careers field within from our certainly from construction project management courses, there's definitely a big difference in what people might be learning at the university at the Dubai campus than what they might be doing at the Edinburgh campus, even though we're obviously a global university. So have CESC been involved with the recently issued National Smart Construction Guidelines? And what do you see as the benefits to these guidelines?
Yes, is the answer. So as I said, so we actually have built a consortium. Not only that we're involved in this, but we put a consortium together of individuals and organizations that we work with to develop this or co-develop and help the governments in UAE to write up these guidelines, which has been announced but not published yet. What the benefit of this of these guidelines is, first of all, just to give you a very holistic idea of what these guidelines are, it will cover digital and non-digital innovations and smart construction within the built environment. It will cover things such as blockchain, AI, BIM, GIS, IoT, robots, and the list goes on in terms of digital, but also and 3D printing is also one of the big topics in there, but also non-digital, which is material sustainability, prefabrication, modern method of construction, DFMA, which is designed for manufacturing and assembly, and the list goes on again. So there is the impact of this will be huge, because this will be the first type of guideline, although Singapore has something similar, but this will be the first of its kind as a guideline to be issued as a one document that shows the ambitions and almost give you heads up towards where the government is planning to issue a number of policies and standards. And that's the plan. So basically, after the guidelines, we will see a number of policies and standards, etc., will be issued from the government to complement some of the things in the guidelines, but also to dwell more on these guidelines and develop clear requirements for certain topics.
Thank you.
Which will have a big impact on the industry, as you can imagine.
Yeah, and I think we actually have some attendees from Singapore. So there could even be sharing of lessons learned and things like that might be really interesting for the centre. So any of you from Singapore that might want to ask any questions or point out anything that Anas needs to keep at the top of the agenda would be gratefully received.
Well, I'm glad we have people from Singapore, because actually one of the main things that we built within the consortium is individuals and organizations within Singapore, and even Singapore government as well, because obviously they were the only ones that have established something similar. So the first natural thing that we did was reach out to them and work closely with them.
Ah, great. So we've got another question from Stuart, who has said, are you connected with the Centre of Excellence in Sustainable Building Design at the Edinburgh campus?
ISDB, yes, yeah. That is one of the institutes that we work with. So we're not reinventing what they do. In fact, we work with a lot of the academics and researchers on some of the projects that we have, yes.
And I know that another aspect that you're working with Edinburgh on is in UAE, we have the Dubai Expo coming up at the end of the year. How will Cesc be influencing the expo, and what involvement will they have with that?
So because within the university, especially Dubai campus, Cesc is almost treated like a flagship of what we do. As I mentioned earlier, we are big drivers for the strategy, and everything we have within the centre is linked heavily with the university strategy and vision and mission, especially the 2025. With that said, we are very involved with the expo. Our colleagues that are, so basically, first of all, I just want to highlight, in case people don't know, that the university is actually sponsoring the UK Pavilion in the expo. And because of that reason, we, as part of the university, especially Dubai campus, are heavily involved in some of the events within the UK Pavilion, but also outside of the UK Pavilion. So we do have a number of events. We have a big list of breakthrough moments, as we call them, throughout the expo events from October all the way to March. We have a number of experts and professors from the university, whether it's in Malaysia or Edinburgh, flying in at certain times to be involved in these events. We have industrial events as well. So some of the events we're doing within the UK Pavilion, and some of the events we're doing in our lovely new campus where I am right now. And some of them we are doing at other sites that we are planning with the UAE government as well. So there is a lot. It's a handful at the moment. I'm glad you asked about the expo. That might require a different workshop altogether, or maybe a different webinar altogether to talk about just particularly the expo. But again, if anyone's interested in getting involved in the expo or want to hear more, just reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah, thank you. And it'd be interesting to know if anybody is actually working on has been working on any of the construction that's been happening over the past few years on the expo as well.
Well, all our partners have been working. I was personally involved in expo for many years. So yeah, that we all our partners or even affiliates or the companies that we have within our ecosystem are all part of the Expo, one way or another. And actually, Expo we have a representative from Expo in our board of directors as well, so head of innovations and enterprise. So we are very linked to the construction of Expo, but also the event of Expo, and also for the what we call the legacy of Expo as well. So we believe that we have a good mix of interactions and involvements with Expo throughout its life cycle.
Yeah, and as an alumni engagement officer, I'm looking forward to being able to promote some of those sessions that are going to be happening at the Expo and that are available hopefully for alumni to attend as well. And we're going to be looking at how we can utilise some of those speakers to see how we can connect them with alumni as well. I have a question here from Celia and Sam. Does the work of CESC influence the curriculum of courses at Heriot Watt?
Influence is maybe not the word that we would like to choose. However, as I mentioned earlier, we definitely want to be practicing what we preach in. We definitely, and what I mean by that is all the projects that we're working on with the government, whether it's developing guidelines and strategies, all the way to working with some of our partners to come up with solutions and ideas and products for them. We definitely want to make sure our students are involved in these, and we already see it. Some of our curriculum has been developed to suit these innovations and some of the digital solutions that I've mentioned. However, yes, we are planning to have a systematic approach on how can we make sure that whatever we work on as CESC is reflected back into our curriculum. So we are doing it on case by case at the moment, but we are planning to put together some sort of systematic approach to it.
Thank you. And for any alumni wishing to come back and do more study with us, how does the engineering doctorate link in with the work that CESC is doing?
So engineering doctorate is fully linked. So that's one of the programs that we have full control of for many reasons. One of them is because it's research, so there's not a lot of curriculum development that's required, and etc. So obviously we can work with the researchers to obviously identify the proposal and come up with ideas that usually are fit for purpose for a lot of organizations, which is pretty much with the different projects that we have and topics. So that's and by the way, we are not only doing that on NGT perspective, but also even masters. So even introducing some of the topics in the research or the third semester for people to choose some of the other topics that you might not have seen before. So that is two different ways that we introduce it. However, even with undergrads, even with undergrads, I'm not sure if anyone has witnessed this yet, but or in the past, but we have leadership kind of programs or modules already. We have innovations related. We have multidiscipline projects, which allows students, even within undergraduate level, to work on a number of innovations and ideas and solutions and etc. So yeah, there is a lot that we have, and we are planning to even do more.
Thank you. And again, I know from working with students myself that we've sometimes had alumni approach us with opportunities within their organisations. You mentioned within your presentation about supporting them with new opportunities so they can actually become more employable and enter the workforce as well. And another part of that is that we have industry advisory panels for each of our schools at Heriot Watt. So we also have people from industry come and liaise with our academics to form the curriculum so that we are keeping up with the latest software that the students need to have and principles and things like that.
Well, the university has always been known in terms of student engagements and etc. And having our advisory boards from the industry and government to make sure that we reflect some of the things that happen in industry within our curriculum, but also that we do the same with our partners across the different projects that we do. We are very closely working with some of the advisory boards that we have, and working more with them to even get more students involved in early stages, whether it's through some sort of apprenticeship, or whether through shadowing, or day releases, or whatever it is, or sometimes even site visit to tackle a certain issue. So that it's, as I said, it's already been happening already, but we're tackling it on specific themes or topics and issues that we are tackling with our industry partners and governments.
Thank you. Another question that I have actually is with different industry partners that we have. So we have certain key partners within the committee structure that you showed us earlier. If somebody were watching this today and they actually wanted to get involved, but they thought it was more prevalent to get their company involved, what would be the benefits to their company getting involved? Why would a company want to get involved with perhaps a university that they had not been alumni of themselves and one of our alumni is recommending?
From a partnership perspective, you mean, as an organization? Yeah, we, as you can see here on the left side of here, but we do have a number of engagements, as I mentioned. You can either be part of the centre as an industry partner and benefit from all of these different activities that I've discussed and highlighted. We can work on a specific collaboration project, where it could be partially funded by the organisation or fully funded to work on a specific research or consultancy or a development project. Or as an organisation, you can be involved in one of the consortiums that we have. That's the kind of involvement that we have with our partners and organisations that we work with.
And I guess some of those benefits might be that sometimes every company wants to do some kind of research and extend their innovation, but they don't always have the human resources or tools to be able to do that. So is that where CESC can really be a supporting partner?
Absolutely. That's why one of the first thing that we do there's a few organizations that they thought they had an issue that they want us to be engaged with them within a research perspective. As you can imagine, to develop that as an idea and a business case for it and etc. would require some effort. And as you said, they might not have the resources. And at the same time, we don't want to engage with them on a project of research, on a project that they're not too sure about. So what we do is sign up in an industrial partnership with them. And through this, we would utilize some of our capabilities and some of our staff with them. That's why we call it co-development. So we don't just develop the innovation program for them, we co-develop it with them. And the purpose behind that is a number of people from that organization and from our side to meet on a regular basis, to have design thinking sessions or hackathons or workshops, whatever you want to call it, and identify the different issues and how these issues can be resolved for different solutions. And we tap into what we have within the university and see what kind of capabilities we have within the university that can help them to the next step. In that stage, we develop what's called like a small business plan, and then they can go back and see how they can invest in this and say, yes, you know what, I agree. We've been through this process. We're very comfortable that this idea it requires attention from our side and resources and perhaps funding, and let's engage in that, which is the second part of engagement. So that's why a lot of organizations tend to prefer to come in as an industry partner with us. And then from that, we develop a collaboration idea or a research project or whatever it is that needs to be, and take it to the next step. As well as obviously benefiting from other things, which is discounts on CPDs, upskilling and training and publications and workshops, and etc., which helps them with being up to date and showcasing that they're an innovative company, as well as marketing and comms and etc., as well as that. as well as obviously student engagement.
So lots of benefits.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of organizations or people say, where's the catch? But as you all know, you've been students, and you were students of the university, and you know how we do things at Heriot Watt University, especially, and you know how things are with research. So we're not here to make money out of everything. We are a charity. We are a non-profit organization. So we're not here to catch anyone out, but really we are, and this is why we set up the center on a triple helix approach, which is really to benefit organizations and to benefit the industry, and not to turn around and try and squeeze money out of organizations or government to help them to establish guidelines or policies or even solutions for them as an entity to make them more competitive or to make them more innovative.
Thank you very much, Anas, and thank you for your time in telling us all about CESC. There's I work with you sometimes over here in UAE, and actually the volume of information, I'm sure that everyone will need a bit of time to take a bit more on board and think about their own specialisms, and particularly with individual roles as well, that you might really be looking forward to meeting them for. So if I can ask everyone to please look out for that email and do get in touch with Anas to have a chat. You might have ideas that you want for CESC to get involved with. It might be research, any of the things that have been mentioned today. And if you have any other questions relating to the Watt Club or to CESC, then please do drop us a line. You all have our email address. So thank you very much for your time, Anas, and thank you to all our members of alumni who have joined us.